Few questions to the proponent, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much. Through you, Madam Speaker, curious, could the good proponent be kind enough to give me a definition of, in lines 4 and 5, what is meant by gender identity or expression?
Okay, well, this question has come up several times. Do you want to answer it again, Representative Shannon?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, it is defined in section 1-1-1N. Through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Okay, that don't really tell me too much, but I don't have 1-1 in front of me. Well, I do now. Okay, is there anything in this amendment, through you, Madam Speaker, that would limit a person as far as when they decide in life that they want to perhaps identify as a different gender? Through you.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm not sure if I understood if my good colleague could repeat that. Through you.
Can you clarify your question, Representative Lanoue?
I'll try. Is there anything in this amendment, 7977, that restricts or limits when in life a person, if they so choose, can identify as a different gender? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, no.
Representative Lanoue.
Thank you for that answer. Currently, in long-term care facilities, are the rooms co-ed? Are they? So can they? Somebody who identifies as a male, can they? And as a biological man, can they room with somebody who's a biological female who identifies as female? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Through you, thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, it depends on the facility, but in talking with our ombudsman and the industry, that is usually, yes, you can have a man and a woman in the same room. Through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Okay, thank you. This would even be in a situation where somebody's just randomly placed there, not a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend or some close family tie. This can be perfect strangers that would get put together who are different genders who identify as their gender of birth. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, yes.
Representative Lanoue.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Does the long-term care facility need to keep records if somebody identifies in a transgender status? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, it is listed, the facility will take note of their gender identity. Through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Thank you. And how is that determined? Through you.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, that the resident themselves would let the facility know their preferred gender identity.
Representative Lanoue.
Thank you. So I'm going to go back to the use the 96-year-old grandmother example here, analogy, as a basis for these next few questions. This grandmother has had quite the life event here. But so there's a 96-year-old grandmother. She's living in a facility for 3 years, and somebody who a biological male who identifies as, who's essentially identifies as a trans female, moves into the long-term care facility and is placed in that room with this 96-year-old grandmother. Can that grandmother refuse to share that room with this a trans female, this biological male? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, as mentioned, that gender identity is covered under HIPAA, so there really would be no way for the 96-year-old grandmother to know if they are a trans person or not, through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Okay, well, if there's people get changed in these facilities, people are roommates, and if they notice that they have the biological parts of a man, I won't get too graphic here, and the grandmother sees this, is no longer comfortable, and does not want this individual as their roommate, can they say they don't want them as a roommate? Do they have that right? And through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon, this question has also come up before. You may or may not wish to repeat the answer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As answered before, any resident can request a room change, but it cannot solely be because that person is transgender, their gender identity, their sexual orientation, or their HIV status, through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Madam Speaker, I do apologize. There was some noise here in the chamber. Would the good proponent just mind repeating that answer? Through you.
Would you repeat your answer? And the other folks who are talking, if you would please take your conversations outside, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, any resident is able to request a room change, but the reason for that request cannot solely be because the person that they're requesting it, their roommate, is a transgender person or whatever their gender identity, sexual orientation, or HIV status is, through you.
Thank you. Representative Lanoue.
Okay, so under this legislation, a 96-year-old lady who's deconditioned, she may have lung and respiratory issues, heart issues, ambulatory issues, maybe bedridden. That could be my 96-year-old grandmother or mother, has been in a facility for 3 years and discovers within a short period of time, probably the same day, that they're suddenly in a room with, let's say, a 60-year-old biological male who identifies as female, and they're not comfortable with that, and they're not comfortable with that situation. That's not enough grounds to be moved to a different room. Am I understanding that correctly through you, Madam Speaker?
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Sorry, but can my good colleague please repeat their question, through you?
Repeat the question, Representative Lanoue.
Sure. Okay, so if this is my 96-year-old grandmother or mother, close loved one, and she's been in this facility for 3 years, she may have very limited lung function, heart issues, a lot of ambulatory issues, maybe bedridden several hours a day, and she may have a hard time even getting out of bed. And she suddenly she has a roommate who might be now 5'11", 6 foot, 220 pounds, 61 years old, and is a biological male who identifies as a female, and she's not comfortable with that, and that makes her nervous. That's not enough grounds to request another roommate, through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon, that question has come up also. If you wish to answer it again or not, up to you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, any resident is able to request a room change, but the sole reason cannot be because of gender identity, sexual orientation, or HIV status, through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yeah, I heard that answer the first time. So the answer to this set of circumstances, the answer is no. That's not grounds. Is that correct, Madam Speaker? Through you.
Representative Shannon.
Yes, through you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Well, Madam Speaker, I'll be honest with you here. I'm at a loss for words, which is that's very, very hard to do. I'm just processing this, and I can't imagine where here we are in 2025. We got a situation where we have somebody who is a very deconditioned, very health compromised woman who is living in a long-term care facility. That could be my mother, that could be my grandmother, that could be my great aunt, and she's going to end up getting put in she's going to get a roommate who is biologically stronger, is better conditioned, who's a biological male who happens to identify as female, and I'm not even clear on the process that it would take, where it takes for that person to identify as female. That's what I'm on. And as I'm trying to read 1.1 here, it's so literally. Let me ask this: if I go into a facility as a biological male, my name's Brian Lanoue. I'm living there for a couple of years, and I decide that I want to change my name to Brianna and identify as a female, and I have that change of heart. Would I be allowed to identify as trans female and identify myself as Brianna? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, through you, yes.
Representative Lanoue.
So at that, thank you, Madam Speaker. So at that point, I'm now identified as Brianna, right? And I want to, and I have a male roommate, a man. Trying to tell me something?
Didn't push any buttons.
Got it. And I'm in a room with a biological male. I'm identifying as Brianna, a trans female. Can I request a different room with a female roommate? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, through you, yes.
Representative Lanoue.
Under this legislation, if I can make that request, can the long-term care facility deny me that room change if I change my status to trans female? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, through you. If this resident were to follow the correct procedure for a room change and everything, then yes, they would be able to change rooms. Through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Does the long-term care facility, Madam Speaker, through you, does the long-term care facility have any discretion whatsoever to say, I don't think so, we're not comfortable with this, and the only room we got available was with a 96-year-old grandmother with dementia, and we're not comfortable putting you in the same room with this lady. We're not convinced with your gender identity, what you're identifying as suddenly as Brianna. Do they have any flexibility whatsoever to stop that and deny that? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The nursing home cannot deny the request based on their gender identity, sexual orientation, or HIV status. Through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I put placement. I put my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, a close loved one, in the care of these long-term facilities, with the understanding that they're going to watch out and make sure my loved one is cared for, and they're not comfortable suddenly that a 5'10", 300-pound guy named Brian decides to be called Brianna, and I want to go move in with that 96-year-old grandmother, and they say, we're not comfortable with that. What's the penalty that they could face if they stop that from happening? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, if there was a complaint filed, they would have to go through the DPH process. Through you.
Representative Lanoue.
And what would that DPH process entail? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If a resident of one of these facilities were to make a complaint to the long-term care ombudsman, they would take the necessary steps, such as counseling, talking to them, and trying to come up with tools to, tools to try to figure out the situation before it came to a room change or something like that. But then if it were found out that there was some violation in there, then it would go to DPH for them to decide the penalties if there were to be any. Through you.
Representative Lanoue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think that's going to end my line of questioning. I am just about speechless on this. I cannot imagine that in our society, in our state, we are putting people in a position, we're putting our long-term care facilities in a position where you can have a situation where you can have a 96-year-old grandmother who may have all kinds of physical ailments. That's why they're there. They could be bedridden. They could be so deconditioned that they're relying on that long-term care facility. And you have such a very loosely worded definition of when and how frequently somebody could change their gender identity. If I say I identify as Brianna today, I might go back to Brian tomorrow, Brianna 3 months from now, and literally we can start playing musical chairs with the rooms in these long-term care facilities, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. I'm concerned about some of our most vulnerable. I'm on a children's committee because I advocate for children. I believe in fighting for our kids, protecting our children. I feel our children are at risk with some of the legislation we're seeing. The other most vulnerable population, as they say any society is judged, any civilization, is how they treat their children and how they treat their elderly. Those are our most vulnerable populations. And literally a situation where a 96-year-old grandmother who has lived out her life, is in long-term care, and is in a facility and wants to be comfortable, wants to feel safe, and literally at a whim, with a loosely definition of what gender identity is, somebody can just switch it like that and be placed in a room with this very vulnerable 96-year-old is very dangerous. I am absolutely 100% opposed to this amendment, to this underlying legislation. I will be voting a strong no today. I hope all my colleagues will do the same. Madam Speaker, nothing further.